Tired. So tired. Overtired.
Hey everybody, this is Brett Terpstra. I've been up since 2 a.m. Just working to make Overtired as tired as possible. I am here, as always, with Christina Warren. Jeff Severns Gunsel has the week off. Christina, this is going to be a weird episode.
It is going to be a weird episode, but I have to say I'm super excited for Jeff to be on next episode because you and Jeff both will have homework you will have to do, which is to listen to Taylor Swift's Midnights. But you've been up since 2 a.m. for a reason. I went to bed late because Taylor Swift's new album about the things that keep her up at night. That's like literally like what the album kind of is about.
You felt obligated. You felt like maybe you should stay up all night and listen to the things that keep Taylor up at night.
Right. But also, I mean, I did go to bed at like 2 a.m., but like 2 or 3. But the thing is that this is like the Overtired Taylor album. And since we are a Taylor Swift podcast, it does almost feel fitting that it is just like you and I, like, for this. Like I said, I can't wait for Jeff to join us for like a full like deep dive and get into it all, especially since he's even less of a fan than you are. But we are a Taylor Swift podcast, and it's a Taylor Swift pop album.
I want to add some clarity here. We have moved away from being a Taylor Swift podcast because we have become a mental health podcast. And then I believe in the tagline it says, and Taylor Swift for some fucking reason. Okay. Yes, she's still going to come up, but I refuse to call it the Taylor Swift podcast anymore.
All right.
The joke got old for me.
Well, that's fine, but
we are a pop culture. I mean, we are absolutely a pop culture podcast. So
we are,
yeah.
But also we have to go back to the old tagline at least for 1 week because she released an album, Brett, about shit that keeps her up at night.
All right, that'll be the episode will be titled "Something to Do with Taylor Swift." We will make a huge week-long Taylor Swift extravaganza next week.
Excellent. But it's so you're tired for real reasons. I'm tired, and you're grouchy, and I'm
yeah, I might be.
Yeah, a little bit. And
a goddamn Taylor Swift podcast. God damn it.
I'm tired of this joke. It's been 8 years,
fucking
Christina.
Kids.
I'm fucking tired of this joke, Christina. No. But yeah. So, how are you doing?
I am, like I said, up since 2. I'm like mania. I might be starting a little manic episode. Can we segue mental health corner here?
I was going to say, let's just go into the mental health corner.
So I think I talked last week. If I didn't, I was just talking to my therapist and then didn't talk about it here. But I'm really curious as to whether what I have considered stable in the past with my bipolar, whether it's actually been just like low grade depression, because like I get so bored and unmotivated when I am what I've always called stable. And I like dream about the mania when I'm in those states. And I've begun to realize through talking to my therapist and going to a talk with Ellen Forney that maybe I don't know what stable is. And maybe there is a stable I can find where I can still be creative and productive and like a fucking normal person with some energy. And so I bought Ellen Forney's 2 books, Marbles, which is kind of her like she's a graphic artist, a comic, and she not a comedian, but she draws comics.
Right. She's a graphic novelist, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. And Marbles is her kind of like story of her bipolar, with a little bit of advice woven into it. But then as a result of the feedback to Marbles, she wrote a book called Rock Steady, which is nothing but like how she stays stable, like what's important. And like, so I started reading Rock Steady. I haven't gotten Marbles yet, but I feel like Rock Steady is the more useful one. And I'm really hoping to find the secret. Like I've been up since 2. I'm not positive I'm manic, but I have been coding a lot. And what I'm realizing is if I knew what to do when a manic episode starts to prevent it from going full swing, and I could just get that like one morning of super productive coding and then fucking like chill and sleep the next night, that would be kind of an ideal situation for me. I don't need 10 days of hypomania. I just need that one first morning. But anyway, that's where I'm at. I'll link Ellen Forney in the show notes for anyone who's curious. The books are really good. Seeing her talk was just inspiring. I learned a lot.
That's awesome. Did you get to talk to her at all?
I got into the Q&A. I was doing it over Zoom.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I got to drop some questions into the Q&A and interact with her a little bit.
Nice.
Didn't get to meet her personally though.
Nice. Oh, so she lives in Seattle, actually. That's cool. As a visual artist, she created 2 permanent large-scale porcelain enamel murals for Sound Transit's Capitol Hill light rail station in Seattle. I live in Capitol Hill. That's cool. No, I'm glad you got to see her talk. Yeah, you mentioned last week a little bit of this about how like you thought that maybe what you'd always classified as you always thought you had bipolar 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some other I still haven't found the name of it, but something with the word cycle in it.
Right. Well, it's like rapid cycling. Is that what it is?
Well, that's type 2.
That's type 2. Okay.
There's another type that never hits like full on depression. Like I don't get like suicidally depressed. I just get unmotivated and lackluster and
right.
And the idea that maybe there's a word for going between hypomania and lackluster, minor depression,
low grade depression, right?
Rapidly and never finding stable in between. Like that seems like me.
Yeah,
I will finish my research on that and come back. And if I decide it's a fit for me, I'll talk to therapist/psychiatrist about it. And if that's the case, I will come back and make a definitive declaration and actually remember the word for what it is.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think that's definitely like interesting to think about. When we were talking about that last week about you like figuring that out, it would be good to know because maybe that would change how you could be treated and maybe you could find a better middle ground between the two, right?
Yeah.
Because but I will say like at least at least like you don't have the suicidal depression because that would be if you were going like okay if you were like cycling between those states between like the suicidal depression and the mania that I'm going to be honest with you I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, that was my uncle. It wasn't cool.
No,
it wasn't cool.
No, like I don't want to like. No, I'm not going to say what I'm actually thinking because that's too dark. But
my worst depression means that I think that everyone's mad at me or everyone's laughing at me, and I get very anxious and concerned, but not like harm myself or do anything like that.
Right. Which to be clear, that's still like not at all like a good thing, but like. At all, like that's in no way like I don't want you to like to discount that. My worst depression, it's rarely gone into like self-harm things because A, I don't find anything therapeutic about that, and B, the one time I did like overdose on pills, I immediately like thought better of it and I was like, you fucking idiot, you're probably just gonna make yourself brain dead and that's gonna be worse. So I had to call 911 and then go get my stomach pumped and all that shit. And it was a whole pain in the ass. And then like some fucking like, some bitch who had like master's in social work or some shit came to like talk to me. And I'm like, my mom has more qualifications than you. Get the fuck away from me. I have an actual psychiatrist. I was such a bitch. But I was also like 20 years old.
Can you see this brand on my arm?
I can.
That was the result of one of my in my 20s after getting clean off of drugs, which make it really hard to tell, what bipolar is like. And also apparently could have caused bipolar.
Yeah, I've heard that can like trigger something. Well, I don't know if it's so much that it causes it, like maybe it could change something in your brain, or if it like could just be the precipitating factor that like wakes it up. I don't know. I've heard
But
both theories.
I didn't know how to get myself. I wasn't diagnosed bipolar yet. All I knew is that I had gotten clean off of heroin, and I was living at home, and I didn't have a job, and I was dating a crazy girl. And nothing seemed to be going quite right, and I didn't know what to do, and I like branded myself just so the searing pain would like snap me out of it, and it worked for like a day. I was like, I felt normal, but that's the only self-harm I've ever really partaken in.
Yeah. So which I get. I'm glad at least that A, that it wasn't continued, B, that like it did at least snap you out of it. Yeah, I had one, and again, like I don't want to call it a suicide attempt because again, I thought better of it immediately after it happened, and I was like, you didn't do this right. These drugs are literally just going to maybe put you into like a vegetative state, and that would be worse, or do something that would like impair you mentally. So, it was okay. And that was also what we kind of had to tell the hospital so that I wouldn't be sent on a 5150 hold, which everybody agreed. They were like, don't do that. But I've definitely had like moments where I've been deeply suicidal. I just haven't like actually done the self-harm thing. But my worst depression has been like literally can't get out of bed and like wanting to die all the time. And that, I think, like if it was a cycle between that and mania, that's what I'm saying. Like that would be, I think, an untenable situation, to be completely honest.
Sure.
Like I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't even know what I wouldn't have any advice for that. I wouldn't have any professional. I mean, I'm not talented, but I don't even know how to do.
When I first started seeing my therapist, he was very concerned about how I handled depression. And it wasn't until we had talked a couple of times that he realized that my version of bipolar depression was not as deep as some of the people he had worked with before.
Right.
Is there such a thing as hypodepression?
Probably. Yeah, probably, where you could go into like a major depression and like a major bout of mania, one after the other, and that I would think would be really concerning. So I'm glad you don't have that, because I mean, realistically, we wouldn't be able to do a podcast. Like, you wouldn't be able to function. You know what I mean? Like, it would be terrible.
Podcast only when Brett is manic, and then everything goes off the rails.
Right, but also, I mean, God, I can't even imagine. Anyway,
if I was having the kind of mania that I saw my uncle have, I also wouldn't be podcasting.
No,
like
100%.
He was not someone who would sit down and have a sane conversation. He would call you at 2 a.m,
right,
and tell you all about how he was going to buy like a new semi trailer, or like a truck, and it's going to be bright silver, and he was going to drive it all over the country, and he was going to be a traveling chaplain, and
a person I was in a relationship with in college, that was the situation. It was similar to that, and Ted Turner, who's famously bipolar, used to call my father at 2 o'clock in the morning to talk about things like that. Yeah, we just randomly call him. And my dad finally got to the point. My dad was like, I can't keep taking these calls from Ted when he's not medicated.
Yeah. My mania results in coding, and my depression results in watching TV, and it's pretty mild swings. Both affect my productivity, but
of course, and both affect like your personality and your relationships and other things. But I'm just glad that neither of them are swung in either direction so much that like, and that's honestly, but it's probably why it's difficult to diagnose. It's probably why you've been called type 2, even though these cycles happen really quickly. It might be this other thing they don't know, because they're like, well, I guess that's what this is, just because neither of the swings are so bad. And also, for some people, like, we never talked about this. And I know that we should be getting to my mental health corner, but frankly, I don't have that much to add. But I did want to ask you, like, how, I don't know if we ever talked about how you were diagnosed with bipolar. Like, you mentioned that the drug, coming off the drugs, might have precipitated it. Was it the incident where you branded yourself? Was that the thing that maybe got you to a hospital, or how were you diagnosed?
No, that didn't get me to a hospital. I went to the hospital after basically being depressed. Like I wanted to get off my ass and get a job, and I wanted to get out of my parents' home, and I just didn't feel like it was working. So I signed up. My mom, I think, probably got me an appointment with a psychiatrist, and I just kind of explained what was happening. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're bipolar." And there were clear signs back before I was on heroin, but definitely after I had started drug use. So that absolutely could have been a contributing factor. Yeah. So yeah, I think my mom got me in there. And I started immediately on Seroquel, and there was some other drug that it turned out my doctor was getting like major kickbacks for prescribing.
Yeah, I had that incident.
It wasn't an ideal drug. I can't remember the whole story. I just remember finding out that, oh yeah, he literally prescribed that to every one of his patients with any similar symptoms, regardless of their specific needs.
Right.
And,
yeah, that was actually how I was incorrectly diagnosed as being bipolar.
Yeah.
I think I've told you that story. I probably told this on the podcast.
Someone wanted the kickback from the diagnosis.
No, actually what happened was she was mad that I called her out on the fact that she was getting a kickback. And she thought that my rapid thought and speaking quickly and just ability to just like fucking zone in and call her out, because much like Taylor Swift, I do have the ability to zero in, and I'm not proud of this, and it's not a good thing. And I've gotten a lot better with it, but I can usually pick out people's weaknesses pretty quickly, and I can say something that could just like level you, right? Like, and she put me on Wellbutrin because Wellbutrin was something she was getting kickbacks from. And it had helped at first. It helped my depression a lot at first, and then it didn't. And then like I was in this situation where I was both depressed and incredibly ADHD. And then I was stressed out because I was like, look, I'm 15. Like I actually have to care about my grades and shit. Like I have to, be able to focus and do stuff. And this was, I think this was shortly before I was put on Dexedrine for the first time, but I didn't have an official ADHD diagnosis then, although it was obvious now that I clearly was. But also the depression, like the Wellbutrin, it worked great for 6 weeks, and then it just stopped working. And then I was not only like incredibly depressed, but ADHD and all these things were happening. And she kept insisting, no, you have to be on this. You have to be on this. And I'm like, it's not working. And then she was also being weird about some other stuff, like wanting to talk to me about my sex life and stuff that was like not at all appropriate. We didn't have that kind of relationship. And my dad was potentially going to see her. And I think she was also she was trying to shove Wellbutrin down his throat. And it clicked to me. I was like, you're getting fucking paybacks, like kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies, aren't you? And she tried to kind of hedge off. I was like, no, you are. I was like, and that's the only reason you say this. You don't actually give a shit about me. You don't care about anything else. I know what this is. I know what you're doing. You're a fraud, whatever. And then she was like, well, you're bipolar. And put me on lithium. And I'm not bipolar.
Ouch. No, and lithium sucks no matter what.
It does. No, I was having shakes. It was shitty. It was like one. And then that then kicked off one of the worst major depressive episodes of my life, where because of all that, that was the first time I got to like the truly debilitating state. And then it took me finding like some doctors, like went to one doctor who only wanted to do cognitive behavioral therapy. And my mom was like, look, I understand that this is useful, but she can't get out of bed. We need something. And he was like not willing to give me any medication at all, really. And because he was only about wanting to do the CBT at first. And then we finally found Dr. Baker, who was just like appalled with everything that had happened. And I was able to find.
Isn't it nice when you find a doctor that is as frustrated with your history as you are?
Yes, it is, which is one of the reasons why like I still see my doctor, even though it's inconvenient and expensive, because I don't want to go. I'm like, and he's going to retire soon, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Like,
this would be a perfect segue into our ZocDoc sponsorship. But first, I want to hear how you're doing.
yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm still having those digestive issues with I think from looking it up online, it seems like it's some sort of reflux thing, but all the symptoms I have, it seems like I might have a hiatal hernia. The issue is, I don't have any of the weight problems that are almost exclusively associated with that stuff, but the symptoms are like dead on. Like if I have anything that has alcohol, if I have anything that has even the least amount of like acid, like even tomato sauce or whatnot, like I will wind up throwing up stomach acid. That's
gotta hurt.
It does. And it's like not great because I'm limited in terms of what things I can find myself to eat. I need to go to a gastroenterologist. The reality is I'm too fucking busy. I have too much work to do. I can't do it. So where my mental health is that I'm having like, and some of this also can be a manifestation of anxiety and stress, but I'm literally at the point where I am like I've got too much shit to do that I cannot take care of my like actual health. So
have you explained this to the people you work with?
I have. Look, they'd be understanding.
Because it seems like the kind of thing that they would be like, no, your health comes first. We'll take this off your plate. You get this figured out. That just seems.
Well, yes and no. Well, you're not crazy, but it's also. I mean, look, there's also a part of it where like if I tell them that, then I don't want to like lose the opportunities and the things that I'm going to do. Like I really want to host GitHub Universe, and we're prepared for that.
But your fucking health. Yeah,
but like my health, I can deal with. Like I can deal with it after the fact.
You're throwing up stomach acid on the regular. This isn't. You can't continue like this. You gotta pause.
I can continue for a couple. I can continue for a couple of weeks. I can continue for a couple of weeks.
So there's I'm not going to go beyond that tunnel.
Yes, okay. Yes. As soon as Universe is over, I will get it taken care of. I will continue for a couple of weeks. In retrospect, I should not have agreed to also do Microsoft Ignite, which was so close to Universe. That was too much. I thought
that would be too much, even if you weren't throwing up stomach acid.
No, you're not wrong.
That's a lot of being on a hole in a row.
It's a lot of being on, and it was a lot of meetings and stuff around it, and juggling the two, and they're too close together. I underestimated, like, I overestimated my ability to do both because I was like, oh, well, I've done so many of these hosting things. They're doing two of them. They're a month apart. That's fine.
Do them in my sleep.
Right. Because I there was a time when I was doing a lot of these things, I think even like probably in some cases a month apart. Because I think that I did build one year and then we had something, it was within the same period of time later. But in that case, it was what was that? Was that Inspire or was Tech? I don't remember what it was, but it was one of those types of events. And so I just kind of was like, oh yeah, I can totally do this. What I didn't anticipate was just the level of involvement I would need for every facet of it, which makes sense. I just underestimated my ability to do it, and I should have said no. But
overestimated your ability.
Yes, sorry. I overestimated ability. I underestimated the amount of work it would be, and I overestimated my ability.
I underestimate your ability all the time, and then you blow me away with what you can fucking accomplish and handle in a day. But you overestimated your abilities. So.
100%. And I am always blown away by like what you do, whether you're manic or not. Like you're one of the most creative and incisive and productive and talented people I've ever met. But
thank you.
But yeah, so no, but my mental health is okay. I've been busy. I was in San Francisco this week for a couple of days doing some prep stuff and for Universe, which we'll talk about after our sponsor break, but because it's going to be good. But I was there. Seattle right now, the weather, and this does impact my mental health, which is why I'm mentioning it. We've had like god awful levels of smoke, like the air quality in some areas. I was out of town but it wasn't this bad where I was like, but yesterday where I live, it was 100 points higher than Beijing. The air quality was like 100 points worse, and Beijing is bad. So it was very, very bad. Like you go outside, you're wearing an N95 mask and you can still taste like the air, right? Yeah. But somebody who I was talking to on Twitter, wherever they are in Washington State, it was like 450, which to put that in perspective is, again, that's like more than double as bad as Beijing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe closer to. Sorry, go on.
Someone on my feed posted a picture. I'm pretty sure it was from Northern California or maybe farther up the coast. And they said that the air quality index was 500. And like it made for some good pictures because it looked like a nice foggy morning all day long. Right, that's the thing.
No, it looks like fog. When I landed in the airport on Wednesday night, like, you know, it looked like fog and it wasn't. It was smoke. And then there was this haze when I was. So the way that the Seattle airport works is that if you want to get like an Uber or something, they have like this underground parking lot. And of course, it's a little bit open, but not that much, right? You know, because cars can drive in, but it's underground. And so you get underground and there's this haze of just smoke that's been caught up underground, right? And it's getting in your eyes and everything. The whole thing is just terrible. But, you know, the guy that I was saying on Twitter, he's at his house, he was like, even indoors, it was feeling like it was 450. He was like, it's just, you know, untenable. Because at that point, even if you have like a bunch of Dysons and air filters and stuff, like nothing's working. I don't even know what the solution there is. Like my solution when it gets hot here, because we don't have central air, because fucking cheap ass building people, electric building my ass. Anyway, they, like my solution there is just to rent a hotel room. But in a case like this, I don't even know. Like, do you drive someplace? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. But
come to Minnesota. Nothing's on fire here. As much as I love the idea of living in California, if I could afford it, the earthquakes and the fires and you know, the occasional flooding, we just don't see that here in the Midwest. And we just, I don't know, man.
You have really bad winters.
Makes me want to stay.
No, I was going to say you have really, really bad winters, but that's about it, right? Like, you don't have the other things.
You can just make a fire and get cozy. It's not the end of the world.
Like, I don't know.
Natural disasters are.
Right, that's true. I think that a lot of people though would just have a hard time. Like I grew up, you know, I lived in New York for a long time, and New York winters can be brutal,
cold,
but they're not like 20 below where that can be the case, you know, in like Minnesota.
20 below. What is this? The Bahamas? We get 50 below.
You know what I mean? Because like my dad, he grew up all over the place, but he, like, a lot of his formative years he spent in North Dakota. And that was always like his favorite. I think like that also was probably like one of the only stable periods of kind of his childhood. And so I think he relates to that for a lot of reasons. But this is but he always, like, you know, whenever it would get cold, whenever it would snow in Georgia, like he's like the most excited person in the world, because and it's not even close to like anything that you would experience, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have nieces in Georgia, and they get just ecstatic with like 1 to 3 inches of snow.
Yeah.
And if they come to Minnesota to visit and it hasn't snowed, they get super bummed. Like their ideal vacation is to come to Minnesota and have at least a foot of snow on the ground, and they will make snowmen all day.
No, because it's amazing when you have no concept of it, when it's like an occasional thing, like it really is like a nice treat. But yeah, no, I mean, look, I rag on the Midwest a lot just because I don't know why, honestly.
It's easy to do.
Right. It is. It's lazy.
I mean, in comparison to the East Coast and the West Coast, the Midwest is boring. It's passive aggressive. It's cold. It's not a hub of any kind of tech or commerce. I mean, Minneapolis is home to what? Target, and we have
Best Buy,
like crazy supercomputers, Best Buy. but we don't have any like
Best Buy's
major
in Eden, so I don't even know like how far away that is from Minneapolis, but I know it's in Minnesota. But yeah.
I mean headquarters. Like Target is headquartered in Minneapolis.
No, I know, and I'm talking about Best Buy is like headquartered.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I remember this from my years of indoctrination working there.
But 90% of the companies you care about are in California or New York.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just then the flyover states. But I got to say, I'm happy here.
For sure. I'm glad you are.
It's so cheap to live here.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the problem. The one part of the Midwest that I could see myself living in, the only part would be Chicago.
Chicago's all right. My mom has watched enough Fox News that she is convinced that Chicago is just a crime-ridden hellhole now.
Right.
Like an anarchist, burnt-out city.
No,
it's
but
amazing. It's
love
amazing. She's also convinced that California is like all Satanists and it's like the most evil state. Fox News has done a number on her.
Yeah, my shrink is deeply concerned about me living in Seattle because of all the Fox News stuff he saw about my neighborhood, actually. And the thing is that I was like, before the shootings and some of the other, like before the like anarchists, the fucking like Occupy Wall Street, like fucking assholes,
the
kind of took over.
Zone.
Well, right. Well, at first that was okay, and then when the fucking Occupy Wall Street like fuckers took over and made it all about their bullshit. Yeah. Then I was kind of like, actually, yeah, this isn't great. So he's concerned, but he doesn't need to be as concerned as he is, but he's often frequently concerned. He's like, are you sure you're safe? And I'm like, you never cared when I was in New York, right? Like, which is the hilarious thing. And to be clear, I actually did feel safer in New York than I do in my own neighborhood sometimes.
Really?
I'll be honest. Yeah. More people, more eyes. There's a certain sense, like, not to say there aren't parts of New York where you wouldn't feel deeply unsafe, but I think for the most part,
that's true. Like there were definitely moments in New York where I felt, like I was about to die, like death was imminent. But for the most part, there's always someone you can reach out to for a hand.
There's a comfort in that. There's a comfort in that. And I think that's the thing where, like, because Seattle, even though the neighborhood I live in is starting to pick back up again, especially during the pandemic, there were some times when literally the only people that were out were people that like are, struggle with like mental health issues and drugs and tend to be violent, right? Like that, because
you walk down the street and see a lot of people that appear to be having like a conversation on their Bluetooth phone, their Bluetooth headset, and then you realize they don't have a headset and they're just conversing with that freaks me out. Like I see that even in the Midwest. Like you walk through Minneapolis, you're going to see that. But I remember New York, my times in some of the Southern California, smaller cities just had an excess of people having conversations loudly as they walk down the street. Mm-hmm. And it makes me very nervous because I don't know what to say to those people. I don't want to interrupt them.
Right. Well, right.
But,
I mean, right.
But then suddenly they're talking to you and you're like, no, go back to whoever you were talking to before.
Right. Yeah, no, it can be unsettling and at night, and it can be, especially sometimes people can be erratic and there can be like feelings where you're just like, I don't know. But I didn't have in New York, again, like it's just, there's always people around. So even if you have that it's not just that. And so there's something that feels safer. But it's weird. But we should, so anyway, that's kind of my mental health update / tangent, but we should.
So speaking of finding doctors,
exactly.
I wrote you a brand new intro for the ZocDoc read. You ready?
I am.
Do it cold.
All right. If you're a fan of it, sushi's incredible, but gas station sushi, Not so much. Finding the right sushi makes all the difference. And the same goes for finding the right doctor. With ZocDoc, you can find the right doctor for you in your network and in your neighborhood. One that makes you feel like you're in good hands, you're supported, and you're heard, even if you're just telling them about your favorite sushi place. I love this.
See how that came back around?
That's very, very well done. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. On ZocDoc, you can find every specialist under the sun, whether you're trying to straighten those teeth, fix an achy back, get that mold checked out, get, your gastrointestinal situation sorted. ZocDoc has you covered. ZocDoc's mobile app is as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant or getting delivery to your house of sushi, you could say. Search, find, and book doctors with a few taps. Find and review local doctors. You can read verified patient reviews from real people who made real appointments. And now when you walk into that doctor's office, you're all set to see someone in your network who gets you. So go to ZocDoc.com to find the doctor that is right for you and book an appointment in person or remotely that works for your schedule. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc. I'm one of them. I've been using them for well over a decade. It is the way that I go to find doctors. And it's great. So you can go to ZocDoc.com/overtired and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/overtired, ZocDoc.com/overtired.
And speaking of feeling safe in New York.
Yes.
If you've thought about protecting your home with security but have been waiting for the right time, you'll want to listen up. Right now, listeners of Overtired can get 40% off of SimpliSafe's award-winning home security system. Not only was SimpliSafe named the best home security of 22 by U.S. News and World Report, I would gladly use and trust SimpliSafe to protect my own home and family. Because at SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. When a threat is detected, SimpliSafe's monitoring professionals promptly contact you and dispatch first responders to your home, even if you're away or unable to respond. 24/7 professional monitoring costs under $1 a day. That's less than half the cost of ADT's traditional professionally installed plans. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, or any other threats to your home. Their monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. Don't miss this chance to save big when you protect your home with the best. Get 40% off your order when you visit simplisafe.com/overtired today. Customize the system that's perfect in your home in just a few minutes. That's simplisafe.com/overtired. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. simplisafe.com/overtired.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I do want to hear what, so right now, Oracle Cloud World is wrapping up and I didn't have to go. Friend of the show, Victor, was there all week with the world's largest Pi cluster.
Nice.
But if I had gone, I would have had to help present topics that I wasn't super comfortable with. And I also I'm so bummed about my current physical shape that the idea of getting up in front of people is very nerve-wracking for me. So anyway, I was glad not to have gone. I watched it from afar. I ran ground support for my team.
Yep.
Did all the blogging and everything, and Aaron did most of it, I'll be honest. But it just was not. It was not super well attended. It was not super exciting. I had no reason to put up with Vegas in order to go, but
right.
GitHub Universe, I think, might be more my speed. So tell me what's going on with GitHub Universe?
Yeah. So it sounds like Oracle Cloud World was a hybrid event.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Okay, cool. So the GitHub Universe is going to be a hybrid event as well. And this is the first time that GitHub has done a hybrid event. Microsoft Ignite, which I did a week before last, or no, was it last? It was last week. It was last week. Was also a hybrid event, but the way that this is going to work is that we will be in person in San Francisco. We are going to be at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, which is right across the street from Moscone. Yeah. So it's a smaller space than Moscone, which I think is good because, especially our first year back, filling Moscone would be difficult. And that
There's
also
a tea garden in there that I love.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to be at the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, which is across the street. And we're going to be actually in a lot of that space. Part of the thing I was kind of doing while I was there was getting kind of a preview of what the layout is going to be and how things are going to look. But we're going to have a bunch of different installations. I can't spoil too much about the physical experience. If people want to buy tickets, they're still available. It's November 9th and 10th. There's going to be like an outdoor stage that we're calling the garden stage, where me and my one of my co-hosts, Anwan, will be emceeing the event and introducing different sessions and tracks and stuff. And my pal Damien is also going to be one of our roaming hosts. And then we've got a bunch of different sessions that are happening across 5 different tracks. So there's the schedule is online right now. It's at githubuniverse.com where you can see what's going to be happening. But we've got like our main track, and then there's different tracks on cloud, security, AI, and community. And so there are going to be things like stuff about using code spaces and GitHub Copilot, GitHub Actions, stuff about using AI, which obviously Copilot is involved with. How GitHub builds GitHub, which I actually think that's a cool session that I'm actually really looking forward to watching, because I think that's cool. There's also one on how GitHub uses GitHub to secure GitHub. I love all the Inception stuff. There's like a bunch of stuff about like community and open source and sustainability, and kind of thinking about what we can do both like as GitHub, but also as just people in the ecosystem to make things better for maintainers. And, there are workshops as well for people who want to get like more in-depth training on things. So, but the cool thing is that if you can't be there in person, and I think in person, one of the main benefits is that you get to like meet people and like have conversations. Like it's not just the content, although the content can be great and seeing people live can be fun. I think the big thing for me always is like getting to actually have those, similar to like those things you have at MacStock, right? Where it's like having the hallway conversations, being able to run into people and have those experiences can be really, really good. But everything will be streamed at githubuniverse.com. So, go there, register. You should not get too many like marketing spammy emails. But they do want people registered to be able to view all the content. And then everything, of course, will be on demand later. But I'm super, super stoked. Just this stuff I can say, I don't want to ruin too much, but I can say like the mock-ups and the things I've seen of what the event space is going to look like is awesome. And they've really outdone themselves. And that's shit that is exciting. I would love to see you there. And I think that
you would get to hang out with Christina Warren. Maybe I'll bring a mic set up and we can do a live podcast from GitHub Universe. Okay,
that we could, and that would be amazing. And at least a segment, right? If not a full thing, or at the very least, we could do it from the hotel. But yeah. I'm super excited. It's going to be a really good event. I had such a good time at Git Merge last month, and I'm really, really excited about this, just to be able to meet people in the community. I did a live stream because have you guys been doing anything with Hacktoberfest at Oracle?
No.
Okay. So Hacktoberfest is a month in it's October. It takes place every October, and DigitalOcean sponsors it. It's a DigitalOcean thing that's basically dedicated to trying to bring awareness and get people to contribute more to open source. And they do that by giving people the opportunity to win a t-shirt and stuff like that. And they're there's been drama in the past because what people used to do is they'd be like, hey, if you want to get a free, t-shirt, just make this really shitty pull request to these open source projects, like for a typo or something, and you'll get a t-shirt. And then, maintainers are like, you say that this is supposed to be better for us all, and you're ruining our lives. So we worked out a thing a couple of years ago where basically like only projects that tag themselves, as being, Hacktoberfest eligible, would be eligible for the t-shirt. But we've been doing some community live streams and talks with other people. And are you familiar with Charm? I've talked about them on the pod before. Yeah. So I did a live stream yesterday with some members of the Charm team and also Tej, who's one of the NeoVim core contributors.
Nice.
And we were talking about sustainability and open source. It was a really fun conversation, and that got me really hyped for Universe because I know that it's going to be more opportunities to talk to people like that. And I don't know, like the thing that makes me the most excited about my job, not just I love where I work and I love the stuff that we build, but beyond that is just like getting to meet other people who work on such cool shit, and give it back. Like I love that. Yeah. And those are people who will be at Universe, right? Like it's really, I don't know. I'm stoked.
That was always my absolute favorite part of Macworld, was meeting the indie developers and meeting the people. I've used your app. Holy shit, I'm meeting you in person. Like the first time I met Fletcher Penny, like the creator of Multi Markdown, I felt like starstruck.
Right.
Now we're friends. Now we're working together on projects.
Now you're working together on
projects. Then I was like, holy shit. The guy who made Multi Markdown is having a beer with me.
When I met Cable and Steven from Panic for the first time, I mean, I was starstruck. I've said this to people before, and people think I'm crazy, but it's true. I've met big fucking deal celebrities, right? I've interviewed them, and it's nice, and I've been starstruck a few times, but I don't know if I've ever been quite as like starstruck as when I meet people who make the shit that I use and that I love.
Yeah.
Right. Like that to me, I'm a weirdo, I guess, but like to me, like that's even, and I love pop culture, and like, not to say that if I met Taylor Swift in person, I wouldn't fucking die. And I did. And I will say the most starstruck I've ever been in my life was when I cried when I met Big Bird, when I met Harold Spinney. He was doing an Oscar the Grouch thing, and it was amazing. And he was so kind. And I fucking sobbed like a baby because my childhood. I did the same thing when I met the current Bert. But like when meeting people who make the stuff that you use, it's awesome.
Speaking of idol worshiping indie developers, you ready to do some gratitude?
I'm ready to do some gratitude.
So this week I'm picking Curio from Zengobi. I met George years ago at a Macworld, and it was one of those things where I felt Curio is such a crazy in-depth app that it speaks to the way that I create things, where I want it to, once it can do one thing, I want it to do another thing. And then I just try to build it as elegantly as possible. Just make it do everything. And Curio is one of those apps that it lets you create these spaces that are visual, almost like idea boards, where you can combine mind maps and lists and preview documents and embed emails and add free form text and add tasks and lists and project management stuff, all in this kind of like visual space. And then you can easily search and jump between and use like unified project management tools across all your spaces. And it's kind of insane what it can do. And every time it comes out with an update, which is pretty much yearly at this point, he does something that makes me say, holy shit, that's awesome. I don't use Curio every day, but when I am putting together an idea or a larger project, Curio is one of my favorite ways to organize all of the inputs, all of the various, like when you're researching something and you just want to compile like a bunch of different websites, a bunch of different like markdown text and a bunch of different lists. It's a super great way. And you can actually preview a Curio space in Marked. So you can convert your Curio space and all of its markdown and mind map content into like a single unified document that you can then like read through in a very left to right, top to bottom fashion. Whereas Curio is, you can spread stuff in any direction all over the space. But it's super easy to export it as usable documents of other types. So yeah, I pick Curio from Zengobi. It's an insanely cool indie app.
Yeah, no, this looks great. I'm gonna like check this out. Which one do you use? Because I'm seeing that there are like 3 different options. There's core, there's standard, and then there's professional. Which one do you use?
I'm a friend of the developer. I get professional for free.
Nice. Okay. Because I was just trying to figure out like what option would be best. I'm probably just going to download the trial and
tell you what, friend of the show, I'll get you a pro license, no problem.
Sweet.
I got the Connect.
You got the Connect. I love it. No, but I'm really really looking forward to trying this out because I use Obsidian for some stuff like this, but I think for a lot of things, like where you need a lot of different types of stuff, like again, like I probably wouldn't use this every day, but when starting
Obsidian
on a big project,
it's great for text. But if you want anything more than text, Curio is just the bomb.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and the thing is that again, if I can have my markdown stuff, like the fact that I can bring in PDFs and multimedia and all that. No, this looks great. This looks kind of like what I wish in some ways OneNote was. Because OneNote's not bad. Like OneNote's not terrible, I actually have to say. Like in terms of like I actually had this sorry, go on.
The only problem with OneNote is the lock-in.
Right.
Like stuff is not easily portable to other types of software.
Agreed. And it also looks like this has like, it has some Kanban style things and other stuff like that. You don't get those options in OneNote. And OneNote, like at this point, I think OneNote is way better than Evernote, right? Like, sorry. Like Evernote has shit the bed a long time ago, and OneNote is significantly better. It's free for most use cases, and if you have an Office account at all, it's you get like even more stuff, I guess, or whatnot. But OneNote is awesome. But this looks like this could take things to the next level, which I really, really could get some use out of. So my pick, so I'm checking that out. Thank you very much for hooking me up on that. So my pick is Menu Bar X. And this is one that I will be honest, it's part of Setup. I'd never used it, and it was probably one that I would have dismissed. And then I was watching a video from Quinn Nelson, Snazzy Q, and he was doing like something on like top, like free, like something about Mac apps or something like that. And I was like, I watched the video and then I was like, I'm probably not going to see anything that I haven't seen before. And then I did because Quinn makes great content. And so the idea between Menu Bar X is it's available, like I said, in Setup, but it's also available directly from the developer, which I believe is 6X Studio, but it's at menubarx.app. We'll have the links in the show notes.
Yeah, also Mac App Store.
Yeah, it's also in the Mac App Store. So what's cool about it is it basically creates like a web app or PWA, progressive web app, in your menu bar so that you can then quickly access that from anywhere. So for instance, I'll say this. I still occasionally have to deal with some Microsoft stuff on some of my machines, even though I don't work for Microsoft proper anymore, and GitHub uses completely different tooling. There are still times when I need to log into those systems. The problem is I don't always want to have the apps installed because they're not always well optimized, and I would need to have stuff, like always running in the background. Dropbox actually is a good example of this too, because Dropbox, even though it's gotten better, it's still sort of a resource hog, and I don't love it, and I don't use it the way that I used to. So you can have these things running in the background for just kind of occasional use cases. Like I've got one for my personal OneDrive account because I access that occasionally, and I can just access the web view in my menu bar with menu bar X. You could also do things like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But the thing that got me on it was I was like, oh no, I can actually use this for file sharing services like OneDrive. I could have my work OneDrive for the few times that I need to use that a week. I don't want to have it running all the time when I'm only interacting with it sparingly. And Menu Bar X is really great for that. So that's my pick because it's a really good way of being able to just kind of like create, little web app things in your menu bar.
Yeah.
It's slick and it works really well.
I just, while you were talking, I installed it. It won't let me log into SoundCloud. It says there's an ad blocker that's stopping it. But it was like one click to add a SoundCloud single site browser to my menu bar.
Yeah.
If I can get it to let me log in, that'll be awesome. Yeah, this is great. I love single site browsers. I love them for corralling cookie usage. I love them for easy accessibility. If I have one that I have my own single site browser for Messenger because I refuse to use their desktop app.
Exactly.
And Bunch can actually create single site browsers. You can add just a command to a Bunch file that'll automatically create an SSB for any site. But this is snazzy. Do you remember Fluid?
Yeah, Fluid was amazing. I loved Fluid so much. Fluid was great.
And Fluid had a pin to menu bar option. So you could create a single site browser, pin it to the menu bar. It could run a bunch of user scripts and custom styles and everything.
That's what I loved about Fluid because I would have user script stuff and you could do notifications and Fluid was really great. And I don't think this gets that in depth, but sometimes for my use case for what I would be using it with, I wouldn't want that, right? I just need something in the menu bar. And but Fluid is amazing. There's also, what is it? Is it Unite? There's one.
Yeah,
Coherence,
Coherence and Unite are from the same company. They make great little SSBs, and you can load all of your Chrome plugins selectively in the SSB. But I have had this problem where I create a Unite browser for a site, and then a month later, it just stops being able to launch, and I have to recreate it from scratch. I have to delete it and recreate it. And I've never filed a bug report because it's never been super important to me. I have they're good apps. I have had some frustration. I'm going to give Menu Bar X a shot. For anyone on Setapp, it takes 5 seconds to install and another 10 seconds to build your first menu bar browser. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah. And what's nice about it too is that it has a really easy option to then just open it in a web browser if you want. It's that's really nice. So if you did want to have something and you're hey, I do actually want to open this in my browser window, you can do that. And which is you can also change the viewport style, the user agent and stuff in terms of what it's going to show you. And you can even detach the window if you want to do that. So there's a lot of options, around, but I shout out to Quinn Nelson for sharing that with me. But then I tried it out and I was oh no, this is actually really useful. So yeah, give this a shot because I miss Fluid all the time. And that was definitely the greatest of all time. But this I think is, at least for kind of the ways I've been using it, it's been really good so far. So
why have I forgotten the name of the guy who made Fluid? He's
Todd.
The person I'm Todd
Dill. It starts with a D.
Ditchendorf.
Yep.
Wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I met him at Macworld as well, and it was one of those experiences. Yes.
Same.
Quinn Nelson, digital content creator, in the show notes.
Yeah. We love Snazzy Q. His videos are really good. So that's my gratitude.
Awesome. Well, that wasn't as weird an episode as I thought it would be at the outset.
No, it was pretty.
It was pretty sane.
Yeah, it's pretty sane. It's pretty good. Everybody should watch Taylor Swift's new video, Anti-Hero. We're going to have a whole Taylor Swift episode next week, but the Anti-Hero music video, Mary Elizabeth Ellis or whatever, what's her face? The waitress from Always Sunny is in the video.
Nice. Yeah. That is who that was.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was a weird little break at the end
Interlude.
Of that video.
Yeah, there's a weird
where apparently Taylor Swift is everyone's mother.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess, but yeah, because the song is pretty great, I have to say, and it's one of my favorites. And she's like, "Hi, I'm the problem. It's me," which is pretty fucking great. And I'm a big fan of that. But there's an interlude. Well, there's a thing where she's like, I have like this like dream where like my daughter-in-law kills me to steal my money, and then like, you know, I'm screaming "fuck you" from the grave, or you know, from the ground, you know, from hell or whatever. And then there's like this very funny sequence that all
right,
yeah,
we'll link it in the show notes. I will watch it again before next week. We will force Jeff into this madness. And we will next week will be a Taylor Swift happy episode. It won't be all Taylor Swift.
No, it won't be all Taylor. It won't be all Taylor Swift. But we have to talk about it because there's a song at the end it's the final one, and it's called Mastermind, and we have to talk about it because Brett, like, it confirms many of the theories that I've spent hours of our podcast overanalyzing about Taylor.
Right.
So we have to talk about it, but also it's a fun album. So stream Mastermind or Midnights, whatever. Now I'm tired.
All right, let's do a quick recap for the socials. Today we had a great discussion of bipolar, as we often do, but we talked about Ellen Forney and some of my hopes and dreams for the future. We talked about GitHub Universe and why Brett wants to go to GitHub Universe. We got some amazing Mac app picks. We got your Curio and your menu bar X.
Yeah, no, great Mac apps, GitHub Universe, good mental health corner. I think it's a solid episode. A little bit of Taylor Swift. Not enough. A little bit. But not enough, but a little bit of Taylor Swift.
More soon.
Indeed.
All right, Christina. Get some sleep.
Get some sleep, Brett.
The system is going down now.
Hey there, good people. Before you go, we have a bunch of new places where you can interact with us. Please check out our Instagram feed, our YouTube channel, Twitter, of course, and sign up for the Overtired newsletter, which will sort of pick up where the show leaves off, with expanded show notes, a little bit of what the three of us get up to between episodes. And let's face it, there'll be some musings. How can you resist musings? You'll find details for all the ways to interact with us in the show notes and at overtired.com. And thank you, as always, for listening.